Have you ever noticed how rare it is to see people actually trying to do something, like really putting things into action? It doesn't matter what field you're in. Most of the time, people have ideas or dreams they want to pursue, but they stop themselves before even taking the first step. You might wonder, how many people actually try? Well, Dale Carnegie put it this way: it's easy to teach 20 people what to do, but nearly impossible to get even one of them to actually do it. That means, out of 20 people who learn the same thing, only one takes action. And that one person, they've already moved into the top 5%. Now, there are two big takeaways from this. First, you might feel relieved, like, oh, it's not just me. You're not alone. 95% of people don't act on what they learn. Just knowing that can take some of the pressure off. Second, if you do take action, even if you're just barely doing it, you're already ahead of 95% of people. That alone puts you in the top tier. Crazy, right? So why is this the case? Why do so few people actually do something, even when they know what they should do? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and while this is just my personal take, I think there's something to it. People tend to take certain things for granted, so they don't question them or even think about them deeply. When asked, why don't more people take action? Most folks chalk it up to individual situations, different people, different circumstances. But let's dig deeper. If we go by Carnegie's logic, out of 200 people who gain knowledge, maybe only 10 actually do something with it. And no, this isn't from some fancy research study. Carnegie came to this conclusion after working with thousands of people through his lectures and seminars on self-development and human behavior. And from my own experience, what I've seen at work, among friends and family, I think his ratio is pretty spot on. Let's talk about books for a second. Authors pour their life's wisdom, experience, and hard-earned lessons into them. But even when people are deeply moved by what they read, only a few try to live out the message. Gaining knowledge is one thing. Acting on it is a whole different ballgame. We often admire people with natural talents, but the sad truth? Many of them waste those gifts. They either end up doing something they hate or just never do anything meaningful with their abilities. Maybe you watching this fall into that category. You might think only a few people have what it takes. Like, those top 5 out of 200 must be geniuses. But here's the twist. It's usually not the most gifted people who take action. In fact, the real talents often hide among the 195 who do nothing. Why does that happen? I think there are 4 main reasons. 1, they're too comfortable. Some people get so settled in their current situation that they never explore what they're truly capable of. They don't even realize they have a talent because they never gave themselves the chance to find it. That's why I believe we should try different things, regardless of age. Yeah, I know try new things sounds cliche, but hear me out. Take music, for example. Imagine you only ever learn piano. You enjoy it, so you major in it and build your life around it. But one day, you might wonder, what if I tried violin, or guitar, or even something completely different like tennis or swimming? The point is, if you don't try different things, you'll never know what you're actually good at or what truly excites you. 2, financial pressure. This one's heartbreaking. Some people know what they're good at, they know their dreams, but life gets in the way. They have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and survival becomes the priority. So they bury their dreams deep inside, just to get through the day. One of my relatives went through this. She was a talented writer. But growing up in a rural family with many siblings, her parents couldn't afford to send all the kids to school. She wasn't the oldest or the only son, so her dream got sidelined. Sadly, this isn't rare. There are many people out there who had to give up on what they love, not because they lack talent, but because life said, not now. 3, they underestimate themselves. This one's personal. A lot of people, maybe even you, shrink their potential. They think, there are so many people better than me, or I'm not cut out for that kind of success. But here's the thing, you've built this glass wall in your mind and you think it's real. You're living in a world where you've told yourself, I don't belong with the talented. But in reality, that talented person you imagine might not be all that special. They just think differently. They've reprogrammed their subconscious to believe they belong. They tell themselves, I'm better than I think. I have what it takes. I can do this. They say it again and again, and eventually they start to believe it. And that belief pushes them into action. 4. Fear of failure. This one hits everyone. Fear keeps you in your comfort zone. You freeze up, you tell yourself it's not worth the risk. And then, ironically, you use your best creativity to come up with excuses. You get super imaginative just to convince yourself not to try. So here's a thought. Why not flip that creativity? Instead of listing reasons why you'll fail, think of why you might succeed. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? Ask, what if it goes right? Your brain is wired to keep you safe, not happy. It tries to block anything unfamiliar. But if you can sneak past that mental border control and act anyway, you can take your life to a whole new level. I've felt this a lot when investing. At first, all I could think about were risks, recession, bubbles, interest rates, macro doom and gloom. I sounded like a full-on economist in my head. But then I asked myself, what really matters here? And I focused on value. Just that. If something had real, lasting value, I could trust that the price would eventually reflect that. That's when I started investing confidently. So, let me wrap this up with 4 simple reminders, one for each point. Try more things. Even small indirect experiences can reveal what you truly enjoy. Don't give up on your dreams. Even if they're buried deep, you can dig them up. Stop selling yourself short. You're more capable than you think. Fear is normal. In fact, it's a sign that your brain's working just fine. Use it as a signal, not a stop sign. And finally, one of my favorite quotes from Norman Vincent Peale. You're not what you think you are, but what you think you are. Thanks for watching.